Ephesus was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2015. This place holds a position of great significance in terms of human history, architecture, and religion, going beyond just being an ancient city. Historical and geographical value. Continuity of the city. It has been a settlement for thousands of years, from the Greek settlement in the 10th century BC through the Roman period to the Byzantine era. Especially during the Roman Empire, it was a major city rivaling Alexandria in Egypt as the capital of the Asia province. Decline of the port city. It was once a thriving port located at the mouth of the Kystos River, but as sediment from the river buried the port, the city gradually moved inland. The reason the current ruins are separated from the sea is precisely due to this geographical change. The main structures we can see at the Ephesus archaeological site are primarily concentrated from the Roman Empire period, 1st century BC to 2nd century AD. Ephesus has a history of thousands of years, but its golden age, which determined the city's physical landscape, was during the time when Rome ruled the area and made it the capital of the province of Asia. 1. Roman Empire period. Peak 1st century AD to 2nd century AD. Most of the magnificent marble buildings that are now the core of Ephesus tourism were built or extensively expanded during this time. Major buildings: Celsus Library, completed in 117 AD, Great Theatre expanded in Roman style on a Hellenistic foundation, Temple of Hadrian, 2nd century AD, Terrace House luxury housing complex. Features: the entire city was paved with marble due to the powerful capital and architectural technology of Rome, and it was a time when Roman urban infrastructure, such as public baths, flush toilets, and gyms were completed. 2. Hellenistic period. 3rd century BC, 1st century BC. After the death of Alexander the Great, his general Lysimachus moved the city to its current location, forming the basic framework of the city. Key features: the city walls surrounding the outskirts, the early structure of the Grand Theatre. Characteristics: many of the Roman-era buildings that remain today are built on the foundations of the Hellenistic period. 3. Byzantine Empire period, 4th to 6th century AD. This is the period when the character of the city was restructured around religion after Christianity was legalized. Major buildings: St. John's Cathedral, St. Mary Cathedral, Council Cathedral. Characteristics: the cathedral was built using recycled stones from existing pagan temples, and the size of the city began to gradually shrink due to sedimentation in the harbour. I will analyse the 4 key criteria for listing Ephesus as a UNESCO World Heritage Site from a critical and professional perspective, focusing on its outstanding universal value, which is the core reason for its registration. 1. Criterion 2. Evidence of significant exchange of human values. Ephesus has served as a melting pot of cultural fusion, connecting Asia and Europe along the Mediterranean coast for thousands of years. Architectural exchange. It showcases a unique architectural style that combines Greek aesthetics, Roman engineering, and local traditions from Asia Minor. Urban planning. During the Hellenistic period, a grid road network Hippodamian plan was established by Lysimachus, which was expanded during the Roman era, completing the prototype of imperialistic urban planning. Cultural historical value. The terrace houses, which were residences of the aristocracy, preserved the wall paintings, mosaics, and heating systems from that time, making them a globally rare example that proves the private living spaces of the ancient upper class. The fate of port cities. As the coastline was filled with sediment and the city was abandoned, paradoxically, ancient heritage was preserved intact, avoiding large-scale destruction in the Middle Ages or modern development. 3. Criterion 4. A specimen of architecture that shows major stages in human history. Ephesus is home to monumental buildings that symbolize specific eras. The Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was the origin of monumental architecture and the largest offering humanity made to the gods. Although it is now in ruins, its scale and design are significant milestones in the history of Western classical architecture. Roman public architecture. Structures such as the Great Theatre, Gymnasium, baths, and the Boulotarian Council House vividly illustrate how the administrative and social systems of the Roman Empire were architecturally realized. 4. Criterion 6. The connection between faith and historical events. Ephesus is a place that has wielded significant influence in religious history. Christian holy sites. This includes the Church of St. John, which is believed to be the site of the Apostle Paul's missionary activities, and where the Gospel of John was written, as well as the Church of St. Mary, where the Council of Ephesus declared Mary as Mother of God Theotokos in 431. These places hold historical significance as foundational sites of Christianity, When evaluating the OUV of Ephesus, we must be cautious about the issue of authenticity of restoration. Reconstructed landscape. The current appearance of the Celsus Library and the Temple of Hadrian, which we admire today, is essentially the result of the anastylosis technique, reassembling using original missing parts, conducted by the Austrian Archaeological Institute in the 1970s. Selective preservation. UNESCO recognized that this restoration was based on archaeological evidence and granted OUV. But critically speaking, there is also the aspect that only the most splendid moments of the Roman era that tourists want to see were selectively restored. Challenges of preservation. The stress caused by rising sea levels, groundwater issues, and the weight and humidity from millions of tourists each year are the most realistic threats that need to be addressed to maintain the OUV of Ephesus today. Now, we have looked at Ephesus as a World Heritage Site. Let's now take a closer look at the ruins. I plan to show it to you in this order. 아르테미스 신전으로 가는 길입니다. 이 길 옆에서 불법으로 복제된 에페소 안내 책자를 저렴하게 판매합니다. 한국어 번역이 좀 조잡합니다. 이제 그런 책들은 AI로 인해 쓸모가 없어졌지요. This tomb under construction surprisingly turned out to be a relic from the 14th century. If it were in our country, it would have been treated with great care. But in Turkey, where ancient ruins are found everywhere, this level of site management is quite casual. Anyway, let me introduce it to you while I'm here. This tomb was built during the late 14th century to early 15th century, during the reign of the Aydin dynasty that ruled this area. The tomb is accessed through a marble portal on the west side, and the main body is placed on the central floor. The exact owner of the tomb has not been identified, but due to the intricacy of the architecture and its monumental nature, it is presumed to belong to a member of the royal family or high nobility of that time. Looking at the drawing in the upper right corner, you can see that it is not just a simple room, but an expanded form that includes auxiliary spaces and a burial site. The photo of the tombstone in the lower right corner features geometric and botanical patterns, which well illustrate the characteristics of Seljuk and early Ottoman styles. This photo captures the site of the Temple of Artemis, which represents both the most glorious starting point of Ephesus's history and, at the same time, its most futile end. Please pay attention to the one lonely column standing in the center of the photo. Originally, there were 127 massive Ionic columns, each reaching a height of 18 meters, lined up in this spot. It was the largest marble structure of its time, more than twice the size of the Parthenon. In fact, that pillar is not even the original. It is a modern reconstruction of the scattered segments strum that were once around, and it has been restored to a height lower than the original. At the top of the pillar, it is a symbolic landscape of Ephesus, where storks sometimes build their nests. The reason the floor in the photo looks low and damp is that this area used to be a lowland near a port connected to the sea. As sediment from the Kaistos River accumulated, the temple gradually became submerged in a swamp, leaving it in the desolate basin we see today. As this temple became a wetland and was destroyed, the people of Ephesus moved their center to what we commonly know as the ancient city of Ephesus Roman period area. Behind the pillar, the walls of St. John's Cathedral and the silhouette of Ayasofya Castle can be seen on the hill. I will translate the contents of the sign. 1. Three-tiered analysis of the temple. The diagram in the upper left shows that this place is not just a single building, but an architectural stratification built up over time. Early structure. The smallest square at the innermost part represents the early form from around the 8th century BC. Temple of Croesus, 6th century BC. A large-scale temple sponsored by Croesus, the king of Lydia, where the use of marble began. Hellenistic temple, after 4th century BC. A temple rebuilt after the arson by Herostratus. The blueprint of the signboard distinguishes this multi-layered foundation structure by colour and line, showing how archaeologists determined the era. 2. Archaeological excavation photo. The black and white photo in the centre shows the structure of the Niskos small shrine at the time of excavation. This area is the most sacred centre of the temple Kella, where the statue of the goddess Artemis was placed. The sign explains how this foundation was supported in the marshy area. According to ancient records, Pliny, the engineering secret that was proven here involved laying charcoal and wool on the ground to act as a buffer to prevent subsidence in the swampy area. 3. Details of the columns and carved columns. Columnae caelatae. In the restoration drawing in the upper right, you can see unique features that differ from typical temple columns. Lower column carvings. The most notable feature of the columns of the Temple of Artemis is that life-sized relief sculptures were carved into the very bottom of the columns. This is referred to as columnae caelatae. These pieces are currently housed in the British Museum, and the sign visually supplements the fact that the plain column in the photo was originally a magnificent artwork from the bottom up. 4. Change of architectural style. This place contains specific records indicating that the marbles served as a stone supply depot for materials used in Byzantine buildings like St. John's Cathedral and Hagia Sophia. Now, let's officially set off to the ancient city of Ephesus. This sign is the complete restoration map of the ancient city of Ephesus that you will encounter near the southern upper entrance of the Ephesus archaeological site. The main road that runs from the bottom to the top in the photo is not flat, but has a gentle slope. The Romans designed their water supply and drainage system to flow naturally along this slope. Embatos and Curites Street. The long line that crosses the centre of the map is the main axis of Ephesus, upper southern area. This is the administrative centre with the city hall, Prytanion, and the Odeon Theatre, lower northern area. This is the economic centre with the harbour, the Grand Theatre, and the commercial Agora. The sign visually demonstrates that Curites Street, which connects these two areas, serves as the backbone of the city. 매표를 하고 들어갑니다. 2026년 현재 에페소 고대도시 통합 입장료는 95유로니까 15만 원 정도입니다. 비싸네요. 유적의 위치가 표시된 안내판입니다. These are milestones taken near the Magnesia Gate, the starting point of the Ephesus trip. It's similar to today's street signs. It was an element of the Roman road network that indicated distances between cities, helping armies and merchants move efficiently. During the Roman Republic, a unit called millia passuum was used. This means 1,000 paces, and corresponds to about 1.48 kilometers today. In the Hellenistic period, stadia, about 185 meters, was also used. The most interesting aspect of the artifact in the photo is the red Greek inscription overlaying the Roman milestone. The clearly visible "O Iesus Nika" means Jesus Christ conquers. Originally, this stone was a secular milestone, engraved with the name of a Roman emperor and the distance. However, after Christianity was recognized in the Byzantine era, it recycled the legacy of Rome and inscribed a declaration of Christian victory upon it. The Romans filled the letter grooves with red paint to make the inscriptions more visible. It is astonishing that traces of this remain even after thousands of years. If you look closely at the sign, you'll find some interesting facts. Since it was costly to carve a new stone every time a new emperor ascended the throne, they often recycled existing milestones by flipping them over and engraving new content. It describes the Harbour Gymnasium, corresponding to number 13 on the map, and its associated facility, the Halls of Verilanus. 1. The entire area of the largest complex in Ephesus spans about 70,000 square meters, making it one of the largest facilities in the entire Roman Empire at the time. This complex is not just a gym, but a combination of large baths and a palestra. The massive square marked in orange on the left diagram of the sign is the area of the palestra. Verilanus Colonnade refers to the three-sided colonnade surrounding the playground. During the 2nd century AD, it was named after Claudius Verilanus, the high priest of Ephesus, who adorned it lavishly with marble. 2. The wellness center function of the ancient city. The ancient Ephesians would exercise here, running and wrestling, and then wash off their sweat in the adjacent bathhouse. The wide square in the center, with trees planted like a modern park, also served as a place for citizens to relax. Archaeological evidence. Apoxiomenos. Please pay attention to the photo of the bronze statue at the bottom right of the sign. This depicts an athlete using a tool called a strigil to scrape off sweat and dirt from their body. This is a very famous statue that symbolizes the sports facility here, currently housed in the Vienna Ephesus Museum. 3. Construction period and history of destruction. It began during the reign of Emperor Domitian at the end of the 1st century AD and was completed in the early 2nd century. Reconstruction. It was destroyed by a major earthquake around 350 AD, but as noted on the information board, it was restored afterwards. This shows that Ephesus made efforts to maintain its public functions as a city, even into the early Byzantine period. Looking at the scenery behind the signboard, you can see that, unlike the vibrant urban area such as the library, there is a lot of wild grass and it appears desolate. This is a lowland right next to the ancient port. As you saw earlier at the Temple of Artemis, the harbour has been filled in, and this massive gym complex has turned into wetlands and swamps. This is the Harbour Road, and the area connected to the end of it, Ephesus Harbour. Ephesus Harbour was a key transshipment point that led to the economic prosperity of Ephesus. It was first artificially structured around the 2nd century BC by King Attalus II of Pergamon, and the form we see today was completed through construction activities in the early Roman Empire. There were warehouses lined up around the bay, and there were 3 massive, monumental gates connecting the port to the inner city. From the 3rd century AD, the port and the sea were connected by a canal. This canal was characterized by being surrounded by tombs on both sides. Currently, due to sedimentation, The sea has receded, and the area that used to be a port now resembles a marshland overgrown with grass, as seen in the photographs. Harbour Road, Arcadian Street, Harbour Street. The long marble road is the Harbour Road that connected the port to the Ephesus Grand Theatre. It was the gateway that visitors arriving by ship from abroad first encountered when entering the city of Ephesus. It was decorated very lavishly to showcase the city's prestige. The road was about 11 metres wide, and on both sides of the road were colonnades adorned with magnificent Corinthian columns. According to historical records, this road is known to have been one of the few roads equipped with streetlights that were lit with torches at night during the Roman era. Hellenistic Fountain House. It was first built during the Hellenistic period, around the 3rd to 1st century BC. Subsequently, renovations such as expanding the front were carried out during the Roman period, around the 2nd century AD. It is located in the northwest corner of the Great Theatre of Ephesus. Originally, it was a D-shaped, pie-shaped building with Ionic columns, and it had a cistern for storing water inside. It is estimated that water flowed out through 3 lion head-shaped drainage outlets. The pillar of this spring is inscribed with the Greek phrase ek tou Marnandos, from the Maranus River. This is important archaeological evidence, indicating that water was drawn from the Maranus River, located about 6 kilometers away, through a canal. It has high academic value in demonstrating the city's public water resource management system. The Great Theatre. The Ephesus Great Theatre is a complex structure that was not completed in a single period, but rather underwent repeated expansions and renovations over several centuries. Hellenistic period, 3rd century BC to 1st century BC. The first theatre structure was formed. It had the typical form of a Greek theatre, utilising the slope of the mountain, Pion Mountain, for seating arrangements. Early Roman Empire, 1st century AD, 2nd century AD. Large-scale expansion work was carried out during the reigns of the Roman emperors Domitian, AD 81 to 96, and Trajan, AD 98 to 117. At this time, the stage building was expanded with a magnificent facade, rising from 2 to 3 stories. Late Roman and Byzantine, 4th to 7th century AD. In the late Roman period, it was used not only for theatre, but also as a gladiatorial arena. Before the 7th century, it was incorporated as part of the Byzantine city walls for urban defence. This theatre is considered one of the largest in the ancient world, boasting a capacity of up to 25,000 people. The audience seating cavea was carved out of the natural slope of Mount Pion and has a horseshoe shape that is slightly wider than a semicircle. It is divided into 3 sections, with the slope becoming steeper as it rises, allowing the audience in the back to see the stage well. The orchestra is the semicircular space between the stage and the audience. Initially, it was a venue for choirs, but as it transitioned to the Roman era, the floor structure was modified to accommodate dynamic events such as gladiatorial games and beast hunts. The stage building Skyni Frons is the part marked in orange on the blueprint in the centre of the sign. There stood a magnificent 3-story marble wall reaching about 18 metres in height, adorned with numerous statues and columns. Currently, only the lower structure and some columns remain. The Ephesus Great Theatre served as a central social function of the city, beyond just a simple performance venue. Political gatherings. It was the place where the assembly of Ephesus citizens was held. Cultural arts, tragic and comedic performances, music competitions, and more have been held regularly. Site of religious conflict. According to the Bible Acts 19, it is also famous as the place where silversmiths opposed the Apostle Paul's evangelistic activities, shouting, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians!" As stated in the bottom right corner of the sign, restoration and preservation projects have been carried out centered around the Austrian Archaeological Institute. It is currently the most overwhelming landmark within the ruins of Ephesus, and even today, it maintains excellent acoustic conditions, occasionally hosting classical performances or operas. Details of the architecture and construction of the seating area. In the floor plan, the shape of the seating area has an angle of approximately 215 degrees. Even today, the lower tier clearly shows the seating arrangement divided into 11 wedge-shaped sections, while the middle and upper tiers are each divided into 22 sections. The structure of the viewing area is composed of several levels. First, the seating substructure and radial stairs were created. After that, the substructure was covered with white marble finishing blocks. In areas with slopes, large grey marble blocks or red breccia blocks were used to form the substructure. Some sections of the seating area naturally provided the necessary height due to the natural rock formations of Panayir Mountain, so the rock is located just below the marble finish. The seating areas that do not rely on the slope are placed on a substructure system made of opus cementitium, Roman concrete. The slope varies for each row of seats, becoming steeper as you move up from the centre. After the expansion during the Roman era, the circulation within the viewing area was organised through well-planned corridors. Visitors can reach the two diazoma, horizontal corridors, below through the wide barrel vault-shaped corridors vomitoria from the north and south. Additionally, access to the lower row is possible through the stairs extending from the west facade. The southern facade features a monumental external staircase that connects the passages. The northern facade likely had a similar situation, but currently the outer wall of the theatre in this area is obscured by collapsed material layers. As theatres expanded during the Roman era, aqueducts were also constructed to pass beneath the seating areas. This aqueduct stretches 40 kilometres and is part of the Claudius-Aristian Canal, also known as the Castros Canal. Along with other aqueducts, this one supplied water to the Trajan's Fountain, which was built in AD 114. Today, in the middle row of the seating area, you can see changes in the structural materials at the 8th tier, which indicate the path of the aqueduct. 1. Aerial photograph of the theatre. 2. The appearance of the theatre in 1957. 3. A portrait sculpture of Emperor Licinius I. 4. Gladiator relief. Photo N. Gale, Austrian Archaeological Institute, OAI. The marble column in the photo is located near the junction of the Celsus Library and the Tetragonos Agora, serving as a public record of the ancient city. Ivuli, Hibul, and Kiodimos, Kai Hodemos, seen in the first line of the inscription, mean the council and the citizens, the assembly, respectively. This indicates that the inscription is not a personal record, but a public inscription officially established by the authorities of the city of Ephesus. Such inscriptions were primarily created to honor individuals or benefactors who made significant contributions to the city, permanently recording their honor. Tetragonos Agora is the commercial agora, where the economic activities of Ephesus were concentrated. It is located just southwest of the Grand Theatre and is adjacent to the Celsus Library, making it the place with the highest foot traffic in the city. Tetragonosis means square in Greek. As the name suggests, it features a massive square plaza, with each side measuring about 150 metres. Unlike the State Agora, which was the administrative centre, this place served as a marketplace where actual goods were exchanged and commerce took place. It was first established around the 3rd century BC, during the time of Lysimachus, but it was smaller in scale than it is today. It was expanded to its current massive size during the reigns of Emperor Augustus and Emperor Nero. The square was surrounded by a 2-storey colonnade stoa, and inside there were about 100 individual shops. The centre of the square was paved with well-polished marble slabs, and below it, a complex drainage system was designed to provide a hygienic foundation capable of accommodating a large number of people. As you come down from the Grand Theatre, you encounter the entrance, where the aforementioned Hadrian's Gate served as the symbolic gateway of this place. You can enter through Mazius and Mithridates, located near the centre left of the photo, which is right next to the Celsus Library. This gate is a monumental arch built by 2 freed slaves in gratitude to Emperor Augustus. This place was connected to the Harbour Road Arcadian Way, and was the first location where imported goods arriving by ship were unloaded. Records indicate that goods ranging from staples like grains, leather, and spices to luxury items were traded, and there were even slave markets held in the centre of the square. Additionally, public weighing stations were operated to ensure the fairness of commercial activities by measuring weight and dimensions. Currently, only the bases of the columns and some restored porticos remain, making it difficult to experience the closed and grand atmosphere of the indoor market at that time without the restoration of informational signs. The Theatre Gymnasium was built around 125 AD to the northwest of the Great Theatre. This massive complex, covering more than 12,000 square metres, follows the unique Ephesus style of bath-gymnasium combination. Northern area. The structure consists of a U-shaped lounge and lobby halls surrounding the bathing rooms. Southern area. In the south, there is an open courtyard called Palestra, exercise yard. This place features tiered seating tribuna in 4 levels, which was used not only for physical training, but also as a venue for intellectual activities, such as lectures and discussions. The Ephesus type mentioned on the sign refers to a form where the gymnasium, which is an educational and athletic facility, is closely integrated with the main structure of the bathhouse, unlike the typical Roman baths. This is the result of the combination of the Greek tradition that valued intellectual ability and the Roman pragmatism that enjoyed bathing culture. The fact that it was built on a large scale right next to the Grand Theatre means it was the perfect place for citizens to gather for social activities before and after public meetings or performances held in the theatre. By comparing the black and white photo at the bottom of the sign from the time of excavation in the 1920s with the colour photo, we can see that in the past there were much more magnificent arch structures, but now only the base and some walls remain. The building known as the House of Love, Aşk Evi olarak adlandırılan yapı, 3 private houses have been identified in this area. In the central part, there is House 2, Ev 2, a two-story peristyle house that has long been misinterpreted as the House of Love brothel. The central area of this house, used from the 1st century BC to the mid-3rd century AD, is structured around an open courtyard peristyle surrounded by rooms, with shops tabernae opening towards the street. The appearance of the southern part was also influenced by the style of the Karetla Hall, built in the 6th century AD. In the past, based on the location of this building across from the Celsus Library and some discovered reliefs, guides and early researchers often referred to it as a brothel. However, modern archaeological investigations have revealed that this place is a typical Roman-era apartment building, including a mansion with tabernae. The peristyle structure is a typical style of ancient Roman upper-class houses, where a central courtyard is surrounded by columns on all sides. This courtyard allowed for natural light and ventilation. Tabernae refers to the shops located along the roadside. In other words, it is an analysis based on the fact that the first floor was used as commercial space, while the inner part and the second floor were used as residential space in a mixed-use building. The so-called Alitarch's Stoa. This stoa was built in the 4th to 5th century AD. The width reaches about 4.7 metres to 5.5 metres, and two terrace houses located along Curites Street form the boundary. This stoa was built on top of the honour monuments from the Roman Empire and was designed to overcome the height difference of 2.5 metres that occurs as you move eastward through stairs. The floor of the portico was covered with a colourful mosaic, intricately adorned with geometric patterns, plant motifs, and figures. Alitarch refers to the administrative position that maintained order and oversaw competitions during the ancient Olympics or local festivals. This portico is likely named so because it was built with the donations or involvement of someone who held that office. The photo displayed in the centre of the sign is part of the actual mosaic that decorated the floor at that time. It shows a long line of continuous arched columns along the street. Pedestrians would have used the shops while sheltering from the rain or sun under this roof. It shows in detail how the space is divided along the slope of Curites Street through the arrangement of walls and columns marked in orange. This is the various baths. It is a public facility located at the point where the upper administrative district of the city meets the main road, Curites Street. The foundations were first laid in the 2nd century BC during the Hellenistic period, but the structure that remains today was extensively expanded and rebuilt during the Roman Empire around the 2nd century AD. It is said to have been built with a donation from Publius Vedius Antoninus, a wealthy citizen of Ephesus, and was named after his family name, Varius. The various baths follow the typical spatial layout of Roman baths. The outer wall was primarily constructed with massive marble blocks, while red bricks and Roman concrete were used for the internal arches and vault structures. This is a practical design that chooses materials capable of withstanding the heat of the hypocaust and being resistant to moisture. It shared the latrina, public restroom, right next to it, and the drainage system. It demonstrates the efficient water resource management system of an ancient city that recycles water used and discarded in the bathhouse for toilet waste treatment. The baths of Boreas are located adjacent to the state Agora administrative Agora, frequented by officials, merchants, and nobles. This place served not only for bathing, but also as a venue for political discourse and a business club for networking. It was located at the upper part of the city and served as a gateway for visitors to purify themselves before entering the city centre. This is the latrine. It can be accessed via the covered Academy Street and is adjacent to the nearby Varius bath. This is a public restroom that citizens and bathhouse visitors could use for free. There is an open courtyard in the centre, surrounded by a colonnade of columns along its three sides. Marble toilet seats were lined up along the three sides of the colonnade. Under the seat, there was a deep drainage channel that washed away waste, and in front of the seat, there was a small channel with clean water flowing. Users soaked a cleaning sponge, xylospongium, in this channel's water to wash their bodies. Ancient Roman toilets were a completely different social space compared to today. There are no partitions at all between the seats. The Romans would sit side by side here, relieving themselves while chatting with neighbours about news, politics, and business. Korean office workers also chat while smoking in designated smoking areas, which likely served a similar purpose. There is a bathhouse next door, and the hot water that comes out of there flows through the drain, helping to keep the bathroom warm in winter. Finally, this is the Celsus Library, the symbol of Ephesus. It was built between 100 and 110 AD. Gaius Julius Aquila, who was the governor of Asia, built this in honour of his father, Tiberius Iulius Celsus Pollemianus. This building serves not only as a repository of knowledge, but also embodies the character of a Heroon, built above Celsus's tomb. In ancient Rome, it was extremely rare to place a corpse inside a public library, as it was often driven by a political intention to showcase the family's prestige. You can understand the architectural features through the floor plan in the upper right corner of the sign and the red drawing in the center. Double wall structure. If you look closely at the drawing, you will see that the outer wall surrounding the library is designed to be double layered. This is a sophisticated engineering solution by the Romans to protect the papyrus scrolls from moisture and temperature changes. Visual effect of the facade. The front section you encounter after climbing 9 steps is designed to appear more grand than the actual size of the building. Unlike the ornate facade, the interior of the building is made of brick, with only the floors and walls finished in marble. Symbol of wisdom. In the niches, ediculae at the front, 4 statues representing wisdom, Sophia, virtue, arete, intelligence, enoia, and knowledge, episteme, are placed, clearly reflecting the character of the library. The black and white photos at the bottom of the sign show the struggles of the ruins and modern efforts. Around the year 270 AD, a powerful earthquake destroyed the interior of the library and caused a fire. It remained in ruins for a long time, and in the late ancient period, the debris from the collapsed front was reused as the back wall of a nearby fountain. The magnificent appearance we see today is the result of restoration work carried out between 1970 and 1978, with the financial support of Anton Kallinger-Pryskovets and the expertise of the Austrian Archaeological Institute (OAI. It was revived using the anastylosis technique. If you look at the front columns of the library, you'll see that the spacing narrows as you move toward the center, and the thickness of the columns subtly changes. This is a sophisticated optical illusion technique that makes the building appear wider and more three-dimensional when viewed from a distance. Despite its ornate exterior, the interior was a practical brick structure, which exemplifies the Roman architectural characteristic of exhibition administrative aesthetics. It's unfortunate that the internal storage has been lost due to earthquakes and fires, leaving only an empty space behind. The Heroon of Androkolos. This monument is believed to have been built in the 1st century BC to honor Androclos, the mythical founder of Ephesus. On a U-shaped base with a Doric-style front, an open 2-story structure in Ionic style was built. In front of the monument there was a pool, which was long referred to as the Byzantine Fountain due to the restoration of the surrounding panels during the late Antiquity Byzantine period. The photos at the bottom of the information board show important reliefs discovered at this site. The relief, depicting a warrior facing a chariot with a spear, symbolizes the heroic aspect of the founder, Androclus. The frieze decoration featuring a garland and a bull's head bacranium is a typical decorative element commonly found in ancient temples or heroic tombs. Androclus is a legendary figure who is said to have established Ephesus after receiving an oracle, and he is a prince of Athens. The construction of this monument during the Roman era reflects a political intention to showcase the city's long history and legitimacy. Originally built as a heron to honor heroes, it interestingly took on the function of a fountain as it transitioned through the Roman and Byzantine periods, demonstrating how ancient urban ruins were repurposed according to the needs of the time. The octagon is a monumental tomb that showcases the architectural decorative style from the era of Emperor Augustus, 27 BC, AD 14. Inside the 9-meter-long square base, there is a burial chamber where a young woman is placed in a marble sarcophagus. On top of the base, there is an octagonal stepped substructure, and above it stands an octagonal main body surrounded by Corinthian columns. A pyramid-shaped stepped roof covered it, and the top was finished with a spherical ornament. The owner of this tomb is believed to be Arsinoe IV, the younger sister of Cleopatra, who was murdered in Ephesus. She was a tragic figure who, during a power struggle, was exiled to Ephesus, but ultimately was killed on the steps of the Temple of Artemis at the instigation of her sister Cleopatra and Mark Antony. If you look at the octagonal diagram in the center of the sign and the 3D reconstruction in the lower right, you can see that the architects of Ephesus at the time implemented a very complex and sophisticated design by placing an octagonal structure on a square base and topping it with a pyramid-shaped roof. The pyramid-shaped roof and podium structure are analyzed as a scaled-down version inherited from the style of the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Temple of Hadrian. This building is a small temple-like monument donated by P. Vedius Antoninus Sabinus, a wealthy citizen of Ephesus, and according to the inscription, it was built to honor Emperor Hadrian, reigned 117 to 138 AD. The columns at the front of the shrine support a unique Syrian gable structure combined with an arch shape. This is a remarkable example of the harmonious blend of Roman architectural style and Eastern styles. Reliefs depicting the founding myth of Ephesus are carved above the lintel. The sign explains that these reliefs are from the period of restoration work conducted in the late antiquity. Around the year 300 AD, statues of Diocletian, Constantius, Maximian, and later Emperor Theodosius I were erected here. Currently, only the bases of the statues with inscriptions are preserved. Although it is referred to as a temple, it is actually quite small in scale when you visit. Rather than being a grand national temple dedicated to the deification of Emperor Hadrian, it is more akin to a commemorative shrine built to pay respect to the emperor. If you look at the diagram in the lower right corner of the information board, you will see a carving in the center of the front arch that is believed to be the goddess of fortune, Tyche, or Medusa, which carries a symbolic meaning of driving away evil spirits. The fact that this building was erected in the middle of Curetes Street reflects the political intention of the donor, the Vedius family, to showcase their closeness to the emperor and solidify their social status. The Trajan Fountain. The Nymphaeum Traiani was built between 102 and 114 AD, donated by Tiberius Claudius Aristion and his wife to honor the goddess Artemis of Ephesus, and Emperor Trajan reigned 98 to 117 AD. According to restoration studies, the original height of the building reached approximately 9.5 meters. The facade at a height of 2 stories wraps around 3 sides of the fountain. Above the central outlet from which water spouts, there stood a statue of Emperor Trajan. Particularly, beneath the emperor's feet was a globe, symbolizing the authority of the Roman emperor who rules over the entire world. If you look at the restoration map at the bottom right of the sign, you will see numerous statues arranged between the grand 2-story colonnades. Beyond a simple water supply facility, it served as a political monument, showcasing the grandeur of the Roman Empire and the wealth of the donor family in the heart of the city Curetes Street. The photo at the bottom center of the sign shows one of the statues found in the fountain. Currently, the main artifacts, including these statues, are stored in the nearby Ephesus Museum Selçuk, and often only replicas or the bases remain at the site. This fountain was connected to the previously mentioned Claudius Ariston aqueduct. By bringing water from 40 kilometers away and pouring it through this magnificent fountain, it demonstrated Rome's exceptional water control technology. The collapsed elements from the earthquake have been reassembled mainly at the lower part, so one must use their imagination by comparing it with the diagram on the signboard to truly feel the original grandeur. The Ephesus Terrace House is currently preserved and managed as 2 separate sections, 1 and 2. Site 2 is managed separately within the protective area and requires a separate admission fee, while Site 1 can be visited, along with other ruins of the ancient city, without a protective area. Terrace House 1 is a large residential complex that began to be developed around the 1st century BC. It was constructed on a slope, utilizing the geographical features, and is divided into 6 independent residential units. Each residential unit features a central colonnaded courtyard, a typical luxury housing style from the Roman era, with various rooms arranged around it. It is not aligned with the orthogonal grid structure of the entire city of Ephesus, but is instead positioned diagonally, in accordance with the nearby main road, Embolos, Curetes Street. This is interpreted as a result of prioritizing accessibility to the road and conformity to the terrain. In the case of Unit 6, as specified on the sign, the area reaches about 1,400 square meters, which gives an idea of the enormous living scale of the upper class at that time. Despite the challenging conditions of the slope, some rooms were grandly designed with heights ranging from 7 meters to 11 meters. Architects of the 1st century had to take on the technical risks of ensuring structural stability and achieving high ceilings in such steep slopes. According to archaeological investigations, the foundations of early houses from the city's founding period were discovered beneath the currently exposed structures. The luxurious furniture and decorative elements found inside proved that the residents here were part of the elite class of the city of Ephesus. The height and scale of the rooms, along with the layout featuring a central garden, functioned as a means to showcase social status beyond just being living spaces. Compared to Terrace House 2, which is covered with protective measures, the preservation condition of Terrace House 1 is relatively poor. The sign explains the reason as follows. While Terrace House 2 was buried due to a sudden event such as an earthquake in the 3rd century AD, and preserved as if its interior decoration was frozen terrace, House 1 continued to be inhabited and modified by people until the late antiquity. Due to long-term residence and exposure to the elements, detailed interior elements such as murals and mosaics have been much more lost compared to Terrace House 2. In conclusion, Terrace House 1 is an important site that shows the evolution of the residential culture of the upper class in Ephesus, but due to the difference in historical usage periods, it can be said that it is currently in a damaged state, more suitable for confirming the architectural framework and floor plan. The ability to assess the degree of damage based on the presence or absence of protective structures seems to have both advantages and disadvantages when you think about it. Terrace House 2 occupies a large area of about 4,000 square meters. The height difference between the lowest and highest points reaches 27.5 meters. This corresponds to approximately 9 to 10 stories, indicating that Roman architects divided this steep terrain into 3 massive terraced levels to construct a large residential complex. Like Terrace House 1, it shows a layout that does not conform to the grid road network of Ephesus. This suggests that the geographical constraints that existed before urban planning and the traces of early settlements acted as strong limiting factors during later expansion. According to the sign, habitation began here in the Archaic period, from the 7th to 6th century BC. But the current magnificent appearance has undergone 4 major transformations. 1. Hellenistic period around 250 BC. The construction of terraces began in earnest. 2. Early Roman Empire mid-1st century AD. The first large-scale residential complexes insular were completed. 3. Peak period late 2nd century AD. This was a time when the most elaborate decorations and structures were introduced. In particular, Unit 4 boasts an overwhelming scale and grandeur, earning it the nickname Small Palace. 4. Decline and repurposing. 6th to 7th century. As urban elites left, workshops for milling and blacksmithing took their place, and the residential function was industrially transformed. The key reason why Terrace House 2 is classified as a luxury residence lies in the state-of-the-art infrastructure introduced at the time. Some rooms were equipped with a floor heating system called hypocaust. This symbolizes not just residential convenience, but also the immense economic power of the residents. It was equipped with an elaborate drainage system and water tanks, as well as fountain facilities made of lead pipes and clay tubes. This means that urban facilities at a level comparable to modern apartments were realized in private mansions 2,000 years ago. The reason why Terrace House 2 was found in a much more perfect state than 1 is due to a series of powerful earthquakes that occurred in the 3rd century AD. As a result of the earthquake, the buildings collapsed, and the magnificent mosaics and frescoes were quickly buried under dirt and debris. This sudden burial acted as a protective barrier, shielding the ruins from external air and ultraviolet rays. Archaeologically, it is in a blessed state of preservation, but in a historical context, it serves as evidence of the sudden disaster that struck at the peak of the Roman Empire's prosperity and the downfall of the urban elite. The protective shelter we see today is an essential measure to preserve these vulnerable frescoes and mosaics. Looking at the diagram presented on the sign, we can see how densely each residential unit was designed around the central garden peristyle. This place can be analysed not just as a simple house, but as the pinnacle of vertical urban architecture, where the social capabilities of Ephesus, a centre of wealth in the Roman Empire, converged. This sign clearly shows how Terrace House 2 interacted with Curettes Street, the main arterial road of the city. On the northern front of the residential complex, the side facing Curetes Street, a series of Tabernae Roman shops were arranged. This means that the upper-class residential area was not simply an isolated space, but a structure closely integrated with the city's economic activities. The massive insular residential block was divided into 3 terrace areas by 2 narrow alleyways. This was a highly architectural design aimed at ensuring ventilation, natural light, and accessibility to each residential unit within the large site. In contrast to Terrace House 1, which had 6 units, it has been confirmed through the blueprints that Terrace House 2 consists of 7 independent living units. Oturma Birimi 6, Unit 6, which occupies the largest area on the blueprint, was the most prestigious space within this complex. Inside Unit 6, there is a magnificent space known as the Room of the Muse, where intricate frieze decorations, as shown in the photo at the bottom of the sign, were found. In particular, the theatre frieze, found in Room 31, clearly demonstrates the artistic taste and economic level of the owners of this house. If the ground floor was primarily for everyday living and service spaces, the upper floors were mainly allocated for reception and banquet areas. This is a result of transforming the disadvantage of sloped architecture, the inconvenience of moving up and down stairs, into an advantage of the view. We can infer the lifestyle of the Roman elites who enjoyed banquets overlooking the city of Ephesus from the highest floor. At the bottom of the sign, a detailed timeline showing the rise and fall of Terrace House 2 is presented. Construction phases. Phase 1. Around the 1st century AD, early Roman imperial period phases. Two to 3. Between 100 and 200 AD. Large-scale expansion and introduction of elaborate decorations. Phase 4. Around 200 AD. Peak period. This luxurious residential complex effectively met its end due to an earthquake that occurred around 270 AD. Instead of a vague time frame like the earthquake of the 3rd century, there is specific archaeological data indicating around 270 AD. The 7 units, distinguished by colour on the diagram, are currently intricately intertwined within the protective structure. From the perspective of visitors, it is very difficult to identify the boundaries between each unit without familiarising themselves with the layout of the information boards. In particular, there are technical limitations in understanding how the massive spaces, like Unit 6 and 7, are connected to the upper banquet hall, which cannot be fully grasped through modern pedestrian systems alone. In conclusion, Terrace House 2 can be analysed as the essence of urban mansions from the peak of the Roman Empire, where commercial shops, social banquets, and residential living spaces elements are intricately woven both vertically and horizontally, going beyond a simple dwelling. Now I will show you the photos taken in Terrace House 2 and explain the details. Please enter here. It shows the restoration work site of the artefacts well. In particular, the remnants of the fresco on the wall and the arranged marble slabs, opus sectile on the floor, suggest the grandeur of the living space at that time. Peristyle courtyard of dwelling unit 6. Originally, this courtyard was surrounded by a structure of columns in a 4x4 arrangement estimated to be a total of 12 or 16, designed to be at least 2 stories high. Large rooms are arranged to the north and west, while relatively smaller rooms are connected to the south and east. The floor and walls of the atrium were finished with luxurious marble slabs, opus sectile, and marble tiles. The black and white photo at the bottom of the sign shows the site as it appeared during the excavation, estimated to be from the 1980s, explaining the situation where debris that had collapsed due to earthquakes was scattered throughout the area. The private bath in dwelling unit 6. In the 3rd century AD, the eastern corridor space of the originally open courtyard was remodelled and installed. Northern room, caldarium, hot bath. It has a rectangular and semicircular pool and hot water was supplied. Central room, sudatorium, steam bath. It is a type of sauna space where only heat is supplied without water. South room, frigidarium, cold bath. It is a cold room with 2 pools and was used as a changing room. Decoration. The floor, walls and pools were all finished with marble and the windows were fitted with glass. This is the largest room in the mansion, known as the Great Dining Hall. This room was a magnificent banquet hall with an area of about 175 square metres and a ceiling height of over 10 metres. According to the description on the sign, this place was a symbolic space that showcased the homeowner's wealth and social status, going beyond just a dining area. The photos display the essence of the opus sectile technique that adorned the walls and floors. The sign indicates that the walls of this room are covered with imported marble in various colours. The walls from the Roman era were originally maintained by the combination of lime mortar and marble slabs, but now they have lost their adhesive properties and cannot stand independently without external support structures. Contrary to the image of the perfect Roman villa described by the sign, the actual site photos are mixed with restoration equipment and reinforcement structures. This passage clearly illustrates the archaeological dilemma of whether to present the ruins as a completed work or as a process of preservation. This sign contains information about the overall structure and owner of the largest and most elaborate dwelling unit 6 in Terrace House 2, which reportedly covers an area of 950 square metres. Owner and identity. Gaius Flavius Furius Aptus C. Flavius Furius Aptus. The inscription in the lower right corner of the sign reveals who the owner of this house was. He was a high-ranking official and priest in Ephesus around the 2nd century AD. Owning a mansion of this scale during the Roman era indicates that he was not just a wealthy merchant, but a top elite who dominated the city's politics and religion. The grandeur of the mansion served as a political tool to solidify the family's authority beyond personal taste. Looking at the central floor plan, you can understand why this mansion is referred to as an urban palace rather than an ordinary house. Main spaces. Grand dining room, marble hall, 31. The central space for banquets and socializing. Basilica. Basilica, 8. A place for official business or meetings. Private bath. A personal bathing facility expanded in the 3rd century. The floor plan shows an unusually high proportion of public spaces for banquets and work compared to rooms for living. This shows that it had a stronger character as a display building for others, rather than for privacy protection. This mansion reached its peak in the 2nd century AD, but was destroyed by a major earthquake in 262. The sign indicates that only some areas were reused after this destruction. The beautiful marble fragments and murals we see today are actually the result of archaeologists reassembling the debris from an earthquake. Looking at the black and white photos from the excavation displayed on the sign, we can see how miraculous and simultaneously artificial the current restored appearance is. The basilica was built around 160 AD. It features a high barrel vault structure and an apse at the southern end. The owner used it as a public audience room to welcome guests or clients. The lower part of the walls is finished with marble, while the upper part and the vaulted ceiling are adorned with elaborate frescoes. Antechamber Room 36. Room 36, located in front of the basilica, also features high-quality decorations of a similar level. In the center of this room, there was a pool lavishly decorated with marble and murals, and the ceiling was covered with a cross-vault structure. Generally, basilica refers to a public building located in a forum, but the existence of a basilica within this mansion is very symbolic. It shows that the owner, Aptus, exercised legal and administrative influence beyond mere residence in his home. Looking at the 3D reconstruction in the lower right corner of the sign, the ceiling height is quite significant. This is an intentional design that aims to maximize the owner's authority by creating psychological pressure on the visitors. I will go up the stairs. The group that was with us below is waving their hands. I am Sogon Hyok, the representative who is still active in the field of cultural heritage utilization. At that time, I was together at the research institute I operated. This is the view seen while going up along the viewing path on the stairs. The view from above the stairs visually proves why this place is called a terrace house. The residential units stacked in terraces on the slope show how the Romans overcame and utilized the terrain. The layout viewed from above reminds us once again that this site is not just a viewing area, but a huge artifact classification and restoration factory. The workstations arranged in each room, the numbered fragments, and the temporary structures installed along the movement paths suggest that the restoration work here will take several more decades. The walls visible in the center of the photo, unlike the ornate marble hall on the lower floor, often reveal the framework or have unfinished murals. As you move to the upper floors, the preservation condition of the circular structures is poorer compared to the lower levels, indicating that the upper sections suffered greater physical impact during the collapse. The ongoing restoration work shows a realistic priority that can only proceed mainly on the lower sections where structural stability has been secured. These are numerous column shaft fragments neatly laid out on the floor. This is a restoration method called anastomosis, which is a preparatory stage to rebuild the structure by making the most of the original components. The holes in the pillars, or the numbered ones, are measures taken to ensure structural stability by inserting modern reinforcement materials such as rebar. The rough lime paste filling the gaps left by the fallen mosaic tesserae is the result of conservation treatment aimed at preventing further damage to the site. Rather than expecting a perfect pattern, the focus is on maintaining the remaining fragments in their original positions, emphasizing preservation. Opus sectile. The geometrically arranged marble slabs still showcase the aesthetic sense of the Roman elite, but the fine dust entering through the damaged gaps and the changes in temperature and humidity remain a constant threat, even inside the protective structure. Stratigraphy of the site. Classical period. 6th century BC, 4th century BC. This area was originally used as a cemetery rather than a residential area. Early Hellenistic period, around 200 BC. A massive stone retaining wall was built on the slope where the current Terrace House 2 is located, creating 3 terraces. Late Hellenism, 1st century BC. On the northernmost terrace, representative residential buildings had already been established, while the remaining terraces formed areas for artisans. Transition of the Roman era. During the construction of the Roman-style residential units that we currently observe, existing Hellenistic buildings were either destroyed or levelled and buried as part of the foundation. Photos of the sign, retaining wall. This is a solid stone wall from the Hellenistic period found in residential unit 4. Unlike the intricate marble finishes of the Roman era, it shows a rough but structurally very strong construction method. Wall painting fragment. This is a late Hellenistic wall painting from around the 1st century BC. You can see the vibrant colours and patterns that can be considered the prototype of Roman frescoes. Pottery fragment. These ceramics were found in the foundation pit of the terrace retaining wall, providing crucial evidence for dating these structures. Graffiti and drawings found in Terrace House 2. They mainly depict gladiators, caricatures, and animals. The top photo shows a scratched graffiti scene of a gladiator duel. It includes texts such as names of people, poetry, and love confessions. A special discovery has revealed a list of over 30 items with prices for everyday goods and services. Analysis of ancient ledgers, see the chart below. O hazelnuts, 10 arses. O small figs, 2 arses. O barley, 12 denarii, arse. O onions, 3 arses. O firewood, 3 arses. O entrance fee for the hot bath, 12 arses. This contains information about Dwelling Unit 7, located at the north end of Terrace House 2. This area is the most prominent place where traces of political worship and dramatic destruction remain among the mansions. Currently, you enter through the upper stairs, but the original western entrance was covered by another structure during the Byzantine era and has been lost. To the south of the central colonnade courtyard 38B, there is a massive room 38 adorned with marble, and in the centre there is a niche that houses a statue. Around the 3rd century AD, the niche in this room was decorated with marble portraits of Emperor Tiberius and his mother, Livia. In the centre, there was a bronze statue of a snake. Throughout the marble floor, numerous coin imprints are stuck. This is due to a fire that occurred during a major earthquake in the late 3rd century AD, around 262, which melted the coins and embedded them in the floor. After the great earthquake that occurred around 270 AD or 262 AD, this area was left abandoned for decades. It wasn't until the 4th century that people began to live again on the ruins. However, instead of the luxurious mansions of the past, mostly modest houses with 2 rooms were built. These houses reused remnants from a previous era. The floors were made of mud instead of marble, and the walls were finished with white lime paint instead of elaborate frescoes. Traces of these ancient late-style residences and toilets remain in the first floor area of Residential Unit 7, which was originally the upper level. Excavation Site Photo Center. It shows traces of crude walls and drainage facilities layered over the magnificent structures of the Roman era. This is a typical appearance of a time when advanced architectural techniques were either implemented or economic resources were lost. Recorded floor plan, top right. The area marked in red indicates points that were reused in the late ancient period. It suggests that only a portion of the massive mansion was occupied for temporary residence. Oil lamp bottom. These are oil lamps from the late ancient style. The lack of ornamentation and the focus on practicality hint at the harsh living conditions of the time. It contains information about the massive modern protective structure surrounding Terrace House 2, known as the A Roof for Ephesus project. The construction of the shelter for the preservation and exhibition of Terrace House 2 is a contribution and obligation to the preservation of world cultural heritage. The project was led by the Austrian Academy of Sciences, the Austrian Archaeological Institute, OAI, and the Friends of Ephesus Association. This was achieved through the collaboration between Austria's academic research tradition on Turkey, which has lasted for over 100 years, and the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism. The internal viewing route for visitors was constructed by the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism. The photos show the process of large cranes and steel frames being installed over the ruins around July 1999. The modern roof, designed in a stepped manner along the slope of the ruins, is intended to block rain and ultraviolet rays while allowing for natural ventilation. Analysis of the preservation strategy for residential units 3 and 5. Unit 3 includes relatively well-preserved frescoes and mosaic floors. The sign explains how sensitively this space's microclimate responds to external changes, with a particular focus on humidity control. Unit 5 is a place with a complex room layout and traces of a multi-layered structure. The ventilation system here focuses on bringing fresh air into the inner rooms, where air tends to stagnate, preventing mold on the walls and pigment corrosion. The ventilation methods for Units 3 and 5, as explained by the signage, face the following practical challenges from an engineering perspective. Utilization of the stack effect. This method involves expelling hot air through the openings at the top of the protective angle and allowing cold air to flow in from the bottom. However, in the hot and dry climate of Ephesus during the summer, relying solely on this natural ventilation to maintain a consistent temperature inside Unit 3 has significant physical limitations. Inflow of fine dust. Keeping the openings open for natural ventilation allows outside fine dust and salt-laden air to directly contact the delicate mural surfaces of Unit 5. This creates an unavoidable trade-off between preservation humidity control and damaged dust accumulation. In the early 7th century AD, changes occurred in the western area of Terrace House 2. Character. The area where the luxurious mansions once stood has transformed into a craft complex featuring mills, pottery workshops, blacksmiths, and stone processing facilities. Traces, canals, and millstones installed through the remains of Roman-era mansions have been discovered. Geographical reason. It was an important facility supplying daily necessities to the Byzantine city near the port, but due to noise and fire hazards, it was located outside the city walls in the Terrace House area. Byzantines likely broke down the intricate stones from the Roman era to build the walls of factories or used them as materials for millstones. Terrace House 2 is the site where the Roman Empire's mosaic floors are most extensively preserved in Western Turkey. Most mosaics were created from the 1st century to the early 3rd century AD. The majority feature black and white geometric patterns made from small black and white stones, which shows a close connection to the mosaic art of mainland Italy at the time. Relatively rare, multicolored figure mosaics are mainly found in Residential Unit 2 Triton and Nereid mosaics, and Residential Unit 3 Dionysus, Medusa, and Lion mosaics. The top photo shows the cleaning and restoration work of the Dionysus mosaic in Residential Unit 3. The large photo in the bottom right shows the intricate geometric mosaic found in Zone C of Residential Unit 1. The central black and white photo shows the mosaic debris that fell from the 2nd floor, visualizing the impact of the earthquake. The utility room work and service area is connected through a courtyard SR27, surrounded by 4 pillars near the street entrance SR27C. The restroom had bench-style seating on 3 sides, and waste was discharged through a drainage system below. Many graffiti were found above the fresco on the wall, including the name of Gaius Vibius Salutaris, C. Vibius Salutaris, who is presumed to be the owner of this house. A kitchen accessible from the large column courtyard SR2223 has been installed in the SR27 area. The oven and drainage facilities here remain in good condition to this day. Residential Unit 2 maintained its early Roman Empire floor plan until it was destroyed by a major earthquake in the 3rd century AD. The western entrance connects to a small courtyard SR27, which was covered by a mill facility in the early Byzantine period of the 7th century AD. The main rooms are arranged around a massive, central columned courtyard, peristyle courtyard, SR2223. To the south of the courtyard is a luxurious reception room, GEWD, with ornate wall and floor decorations used for welcoming guests. The statue of a toga-clad figure, a marble bust discovered in SR18, showcasing the identity of a Roman citizen, terracotta censer, Thymiaterion, a censer adorned with a bust of the Egyptian god Serapis. The current appearance of Residential Unit 1 reflects the final decorative phase of the 3rd century AD, private bath SR3. Located in the northeast area, it features a bathtub and a hypercoursed heating system. This is a very unique and luxurious facility throughout the entire terrace house. Theatre Room SR6, decorated with very high-quality murals. The centre of the mural depicts life-sized servant figures and theatrical scenes, while mythological scenes are preserved at the top of the northern wall. It includes photographs from the excavation site of the Theatre Room SR6 and the Courtyard SR2 from 1967, ceramics from the Severan dynasty period, circa AD 230. These artefacts found in room SR5A serve as evidence for estimating the last period of residence in the mansion. Unit 1 is located at the lower part of the terrace house complex. A massive amount of debris and soil poured into this area during the earthquake when the upper floors, units 3 to 7, collapsed. The different materials of stone visible at the bottom of the wall are more likely to be hardened layers of debris that flowed down after the collapse, rather than the original wall. The walls of Unit 1 serve not just as simple partitions, but also functioned as retaining walls, supporting the upper terrace. Roman architects designed the thickness of the walls to be thicker as they went down, to withstand the pressure from above. I finally saw all of the terrace house too within the protective area. Shall we start again from Curetes Street? The ancient name Embolos refers to Curetes Street, which is the road that crosses the valley between 2 regions of Ephesus. This road, which was once the processional way, extends in a unique direction, not following the orthogonal road network of Hellenistic Roman cities. It is a main avenue with a total length of 210 metres, developed during the early Roman Empire with splendid colonnades and marble paving. Beneath the road, which is 6.8 to 10 metres wide, there was a sewer system. Behind the main hall, there were shops tabernae lined up with a depth of 3.5 metres to 4.5 metres, where merchants, artisans and innkeepers offered goods and services. In front of each pillar on the street, there were pedestals engraved with inscriptions that supported marble or bronze statues. These inscriptions commemorate the good deeds of the city's benefactors and patrons. This steep street with a height difference of about 20 metres was closed to vehicle traffic by the Heracles Gate, built in the late antiquity. Maintenance and repair work on this street continued until the 6th or 7th century AD. The map and floor plan on the sign show the layout of the street and its relationship to the surrounding buildings. Black and white photos capture the appearance of the site during the excavation and the overall view of the ruins. Restoration drawings, aerial photos show the current state of the marble-paved road and the remaining columns. Hydreion is a fountain facility. It is located in a narrow area where Curetes Street and Terrace House Street intersect. There is an elongated rectangular pool, and behind it is a semicircular niche where statues were placed. According to the inscription, T. Flavius Meander is recorded as the founder, and the construction date is estimated to be around the Severan dynasty, circa 200 AD. In the late antiquity, statues of the tetrarchs, the Roman rulers of the 4-part governance, were erected in front of the Hydreion. Map indicates the exact location of the Hydreion within Ephesus. Black and white photo shows the site during excavation and the detailed condition of the ruins. Drawing this is an elevation view that restores the original architectural structure of the fountain, which combines a semicircular niche and a basin. Memmius Monument. The Memmius Monument was erected between 50 and 30 BC in a particularly prominent location within the city. This building is an honorary monument dedicated to Gaius Memmius, the grandson of the Roman dictator Sulla. According to the restoration plan, this monument is believed to have been a tower structure with a conical roof placed on top of the lower part. Between the columns of the upper section, there were reliefs depicting the virtues of Memmius, the protagonist of this monument. Currently, instead of a complete restoration, part of the site has been reconstructed in a modern, cubist architectural collage style. Top map indicates the location of the monument. Floor plan shows the structural layout of the building's foundation. Restoration drawing. This is an illustration that estimates the original grand appearance, with a conical roof, columns, and arranged reliefs. Excavation photos. These show the overall view of the site during the past excavation and detailed images of the discovered relief fragments. Processional way. In ancient Ephesus, a festival was held annually to honor Artemis, the city's guardian deity. During this festival period, which lasts for several days, not only athletic competitions and music contests were held, but also a grand sacrificial ceremony. The procession began at the Temple of Artemis, located outside the city walls. The procession entered the city through the Magnesia Gate, passed by the state Agora, and went through Curetes Street. Afterwards, the procession that arrived at the Grand Theatre moved along Theatre Street. The procession exited the city through the path between the stadium and the gymnasium, then concluded by returning to the Temple of Artemis. The Rhodian peristyle and the Prytaneum, located at the western end of the state Agora, was the administrative centre of the ancient city of Ephesus. Road-style courtyard. It is a yard approximately 22 metres by 28 metres in size, characterised by the northern columns being designed taller than those on the other side. This follows the column style that was popular on the island of Rhodes around the 3rd century BC. It is presumed that there were probably 2 temples here in the past, which were reconfigured during the reign of Emperor Augustus, 27 BC, AD 14, as a space for the goddess Artemis and the emperor. Prytaneon. A building measuring 18 metres by 20 metres, located behind the Bouleuterion, which served as the town hall of Ephesus. This place was the office of the city's highest official, the Prytaneus, and a venue for welcoming dignitaries. The eternal flame, Hestia. In the centre of the building, a sacred flame, symbolising the city's well-being, burned continuously, 24 hours a day. Statue of goddess Artemis. Famous statues of Artemis of Ephesus were discovered in the area of the Prytaneon. These statues are currently housed in the Ephesus Museum. To the west, there were large, elaborately decorated residential or governmental facilities, which seem to have been functionally closely related to the Prytaneon. Floor plan, orange line at the top. It shows the room layout of the Prytaneon building and the structure of the Rhodian-style courtyard. Statue of goddess Artemis. This is a uniquely shaped statue of Artemis, discovered here, featuring numerous breasts or interpreted as bull testicles or acorns. Site photo. The columns visible behind the sign are part of the actual Rhodian-style courtyard, and the black and white photo within the sign shows what it looked like at the time of excavation. The Odeon is one of the best preserved structures within the ruins. This building has a dual function as both the Bouleuterion City Council Chamber and the Odeon Concert Hall. Construction period. It was completed during the reign of Emperor Antoninus Pius in the mid-2nd century AD, around 150 AD. Patrons. It was built with private funds by Publius Vedius Antoninus, a wealthy citizen of Ephesus, and his wife, Flavia Papiana. The Odeon follows the typical Roman theatre design. It is smaller in scale compared to the Grand Theatre, but it is more elaborate in terms of finishing and structure. Cavea seating area. A semicircular seating made of marble, capable of accommodating about 1,400 to 1,500 people. The upper and lower parts are divided based on the horizontal passage diazoma, and the columns in the upper section support the audience seats, while enhancing aesthetic completeness. Orchestra. Unlike the circular orchestra of a grand theatre, it is designed in a semicircular shape. This is a typical Roman Odeon, optimized for speeches or small performances rather than for theatre. The lack of drainage facilities on the floor is strong evidence that this building was once covered with a wooden roof. The roof was an essential element for maximizing acoustic effects and conducting meetings regardless of the climate. While the academic community is confident in the existence of a wooden roof, specific engineering data on how it supported a span of 25 metres without intermediate columns has been lost. This remains the pinnacle of Roman architectural engineering, while also being an area of speculation archaeologically. Cyneiphron's stage background. There was a wall adorned with elaborate sculptures and columns in a 2-story structure, but now only part of the lower section remains. It is presumed that statues of emperors or patron families were placed here. This building was not just a simple entertainment facility, but a key institution symbolizing the autonomy of Ephesus. Bouleuterion City Council Hall. This was the place where members of the city's upper council, Boule, gathered to discuss and decide on municipal affairs. The layout in relation to the adjacent Prytaneum Town Hall shows that this was the centre of the administrative complex. Odeon Concert Hall. It was used as a cultural space for concerts, poetry readings, and rhetoric lectures during times when the city council was not in session. While the Grand Theatre focused on popular entertainment such as gladiatorial games, this place was a refined cultural space for the upper class and intellectuals. The upper city, where the Odeon is located, was an area for the elite bureaucratic class, separate from the commercial district of the lower city. This reveals that urban planning during the Roman Empire strictly divided spaces according to social class. The current appearance of the Odeon is largely restored through the anastylosis technique. In particular, the marble finishes of the seating area and the stairs have many modern reinforcements added for the convenience of tourists. The Basilica Stoa. This two-storey, three-aisled Basilica Stoa, also known as the Royal Colonnade, was built in 11 AD with a donation from C. Sextilius Pollio. This Ionic-style building was one of the most impressive structures in the city at the time and could be accessed via 4 steps. There were 67 columns erected at the front. The width of the side aisles was 4.72 metres each, while the width of the central aisle reached 6.85 metres. It was primarily used as a public space for commercial transactions or legal affairs. At the eastern end, there was a massive commemorative statue of Emperor Augustus and his wife Livia sitting on a podium. These statues are currently displayed in the Ephesus Museum. Top map indicates the location of the Basilica Stoa, adjacent to the north of the State Agora. Point 11. Floor plan provides a detailed view of the building's floor structure, divided into 3 long corridors, black and white, and colour photos. It shows a comparison between the appearance at the time of excavation and the current view of the ruins from the southwest. Bullhead Capital. This is a detailed photo of the unique bullhead decorative capital found in this building. It is a characteristic element of the architectural style of this region. Baths at the State Agora. This Roman bath facility is believed to have been built on the site of an earlier gymnasium from the Hellenistic period. The bathing rooms located to the north were partially created by carving into natural rock. Caldarium hot bathroom. Located in the western section, it had 7 niches equipped with bathtubs inside. Rest and lobby area. Rooms with mosaic floors were connected to the west and south, serving as a lounge or lobby for visitors. Palestra Gymnasium. It seems that there was an open courtyard for physical and mental training in the southern area, which has not yet been excavated. Floor plan. It shows the design of the bathhouse interior, consisting of complex waterways and rooms. Black and white excavation photo. This shows the site as it appeared during the excavation in the past. Bottom right photo. It shows the remains of the columns of the hypocaust, a feature of Roman baths. Scenic photo. This is the arch-shaped structure and exterior that remain at the current archaeological site. The State Agora was established in this area around the 1st century BC, between 2 mountain ranges. By the early 1st century AD, it had an area measuring 160 metres by 58 metres. 3 sides of the square were surrounded by colonnades. The west is finished with an ashlar wall, and numerous personal monuments have been erected against this wall. At the latest, it served as the political centre of the city, along with surrounding buildings from the time of Emperor Augustus, 27 BC to 14 AD. There are 2 agoras in Ephesus. If the lower agora near the harbour was a vibrant economic space for ordinary citizens and merchants, this State Agora was a thoroughly administrative space for bureaucrats and elites. The proximity to the Odeon, the Assembly Hall, the Protanion, the Town Hall, and the Basilica Stoa proves that this place was the core of power for the upper echelons of the city. The process of overlaying Roman architectural styles from the Augustan era on the remnants of the Hellenistic period vividly illustrates how Ephesus was politically restructured as the capital of the Asian provinces of the Roman Empire. In particular, the numerous monuments erected on the Western Wall suggest that public spaces were utilized as political propaganda sites by the powerful. Currently, the National Agora, visible at the archaeological site, has only a few large columns remaining, making it difficult to feel the grandeur of a closed-off plaza, like that depicted on the restoration signs. Especially, the excavation and maintenance in the southern area are relatively lacking compared to the northern area Odeon, requiring considerable archaeological imagination for visitors to grasp the overall scale. Mapit is marked as location 4 on the upper part of the ruins. Central restoration drawing. This is a 3D model estimating the peak appearance of the square connected to the 3-storey Basilica Stoa. Lower floor plan. It shows how the Odeon right semicircular and bathing facilities are organically connected around the square. This is a view looking down from the upper city towards the lower city on Curetes Street, the main axis of the Ephesus ruins. The composition of this photo vividly illustrates the hierarchical structure of the city of Ephesus. The Library of Celsus. visible at the end of the street, serves as a visual landmark, symbolizing the cultural pride of this city. The point where the photo was taken is the administrative center, National Agora, Odeon. The road extending towards the lower commercial Agora and the port direction here was a corridor of power that shows how politics is connected to the economy. The flat lowland, visible in the distance in the photo, was once the sea that connected to the port of Ephesus. As the sediments of the Cayster River accumulated, the coastline was pushed back, and now the sea is several kilometers away. The fundamental reason for the eventual downfall and ruin of Ephesus is captured in the background of this photo. It shows that no matter how splendid the marble street, the Street of Curites, is maintained, the city inevitably loses its function in the face of natural changes that block the harbour, the lifeline of the economy. If you look at the hills on the left and right sides of the photo, you can see that there are still many areas covered with soil and grass. This means that only 20 to 30% of the entire site has been excavated. What we see as the completed form of the street is merely a cross-section, selectively restored by archaeologists, while the surrounding living remains are still buried or left in a state of destruction. The Temple of Domitian. This temple and altar were built for the imperial cult and were dedicated to Emperor Domitian. However, after his death, a damnatio memoriae was decreed, erasing his name from all public records, and this temple was redesignated as dedicated to the entire Flavian family rather than the emperor personally. It was built on a 24-metre by 34-metre 6-step substructure, with 8 by 13 columns arranged in the structure. Constructed on a terrace supported by massive buttresses, it was designed to stand out visually from anywhere in the city. After Christianity was legalized and expanded its influence, the temple was thoroughly dismantled down to its foundation. Today, it is in a state of destruction, to the point where almost no form can be found. This temple is a symbolic asset that allowed Ephesus to be the first city in the Asian provinces to earn the honourable title of Neokoros, Guardian City of the Temple. However, the erasure of records due to the tyranny of Domitian immediately distorted the identity of the cultural heritage. The giant statue of the emperor shown in the lower right photo that was erected in front of the temple and has been destroyed, leaving only the head, is a stark example of how changes in political power can have a devastating impact on the vitality and historical value of a building. The introduction of a large-scale buttress system to overcome the sloped valley terrain and create terraces demonstrates the essence of Roman civil engineering. This is a clever design that maximizes the authority of the temple while securing usable space in the upper city. However, these massive artificial structures placed an excessive load on the terrain, and the enormous amount of stone left after the destruction of the temple became a source for the materials of later buildings, such as walls and churches, making it even more difficult to preserve the original state of the ruins. Floor plan. It shows the foundation structure and the arrangement of the columns. Restoration perspective. This is an illustration estimating the appearance of the temple at its peak, towering above the high terrace. Statue. This is a giant head of Emperor Domitian. Currently housed in the Ephesus Museum Hydrekdokion, the Water Palace. This monumental fountain structure was built around AD 80 through the donation of Gaius Licanius Bassus, who was the governor of the Roman province. Located at the intersection of two major roads, it served as a scenic focal point of the city. It is designed around a massive rectangular tank measuring 105 square meters. 3 sides of the tank were surrounded by a magnificent aedicula, a wall decoration in the shape of a small shrine exterior, rising 2 to 3 stories high. On the remaining side, a low tank for drawing water was placed. It was a fountain designed to allow water to flow between diverse architectural styles and sculptures, showcasing both visual splendor and the dynamism of water. Floor plan. It shows the layout of the pool and the arrangement of the walls. Restoration, elevation. It is a drawing estimating the front view of the ornate fountain with 3 levels. Artifact photo. These are the Corinthian-style column capitals and fragments of statues discovered on site. The Inscriptions Museum is located in the arched underground structure of the Temple of Domitian. Over 3,000 complete or damaged inscriptions are preserved. We are exhibiting about 60 key specimens that have particularly high educational value among the preserved artifacts. Main types of inscriptions. O. Death sentence for blasphemers. O. Records of citizenship, grants from the Hellenistic period. O. Letters from Roman emperors. O. Honorary inscriptions for the royal family and urban nobility. O. Epitaphs recording the lives of the deceased. Letters from emperors and records of citizenship grants empirically demonstrate the governing methods of the Roman Empire's provinces and the social hierarchy. The death sentence for the blasphemer reflects the religious solemnity and the enforcement of law at the time, suggesting a social fear and discipline that is difficult to grasp through literature alone. The signboard features photographs of 4 types of stone tablets, each with different shapes and fonts. This shows the evolution from the dense Greek script of the Hellenistic period to the neat Latin script of the Roman era. We will conclude our tour of the ancient city of Ephesus here. Thank you all for joining us.